All right, let's do another backtesting session for May the 23rd to the 27th, 2022. So first things first, let's take a look at the news. Okay, Monday, World Economic Forum. Okay, interesting. World Economic Forum annual meetings. Cool. Can't really mark anything down on the charts there, so we're just going to mark up our daily liquidity to see if we can find any opportunities. So we can see actually that the previous day high was swept already, which we can see here. So that means we are going to be looking for an EM2 model. So we need to sweep at the minimum the most recent previous session high to look for a sell towards this Tokyo low here. And there's also a gap there as well. So this kind of looks like a very strong sell, at least to this low at the minimum. But before I even look for an entry, I must see this previous session high get swept first, and then I'm comfortable looking for a sell. And then kind of looks like a little different of a story actually for Nasdaq. We still haven't swept this previous day high, so because we must look for EM1, like we must sweep the daily liquidity on both assets, which I trade Nasdaq and ES, before I can begin to look for EM2. I'm going to be trading just Nasdaq until this previous day high is met. So I'm going to want to see some session low get swept and then look for a buy towards this previous day high. And then we also got some session highs up here as well. Okay, so we'll start off on Nasdaq here because, well, it's a good start. So let's see what happens. So there we go. We swept Asia liquidity. Let's see what we have here. We swept the Asia low. Market then took out some buy side liquidity here. Let's see. Okay, so we just took out a bunch of liquidity. We then had a strong rejection to the downside as well, let's see what happened previously. So market failed to sweep the session high, so that leaves me to believe that we could potentially be taking out this session low. However, bear in mind, because we took out the daily high on ES, I'm not going to be looking for any sells. I'm looking for the same thing to happen here first. So I do have to wait for that high to get swept. Okay, so okay, we had break a structure. Okay, and then we can see here that we had a 10-minute market structure shift. So I could look for an entry using this order block right here. But you can see the size of the order block is absolutely massive. So we are not interested in taking that entry there. Okay, well, didn't do anything, so no problem at all. Let's delete all our drawings, and then we'll let it speed over there to Tuesday. Huge gap left behind. It's insane. Okay, so taking a look at Tuesday news, World Economic Forum meetings. 9:45, we have flash manufacturing. Powell speaks during lunch, so I don't care about that. I don't trade lunch. So let me mark up the news buffer. Okay. There's one. Okay, there's two. Now let's mark up our liquidity to see what models we can be looking for. So we can see here that the previous day low was already swept. So that means we are only looking for an EM2 buy towards this Asia high here for a Tokyo London reversal. So that means if this target gets swept before our model plays out, we're not going to be looking for entries. So at the minimum, I must see this this previous session low get swept before I can look for an entry. And then just in case, I'm going to mark up this old session low here as well, as the market could potentially just kind of fall towards that area. So now we have NASDAQ ready. Let's take a look at ES here. It's kind of looking like not the same story actually. So the previous day low hasn't been swept on ES, so that means we can't look for an EM to buy on NASDAQ until the previous day low has been swept on ES. So that means ideally gonna want to sweep a session high first, and then let's see, we have a gap up here as well, and then let's see, old previous session low. Okay, so let's go on the 10-minute time frame. Okay, 10-minute time frame here. Now it must wait for the session high to get swept. It might not happen, but who knows. Okay, so it looks like it did not happen. Not a problem at all. So we can now see that we could look for a scenario. We could either look for an EM3 sell from ES here, but ideally on NASDAQ is saying we are looking for a buy. So it's really how the market plays out, right? So this session low now becomes a premium array. So let's go on the 10-minute. See if the market. Okay, so we can see that we can follow a scenario A for the EM2 simply because the market swept the previous day low immediately. We can see here that we have a 10-minute bullish mark structure shift, which you want to confirm on the 5-minute. It is confirmed on the 5-minute. Now, bear in mind, we did just hop into a premium array, so you really do want to keep an eye on that to see if that affects the market in a strong way. Because if it's in a strong way, this is not very, very probable. But okay, so let's see this. Okay. The stop loss is fairly big, so we're only going to be catching this for 2R. Okay, so at this point in time, this is when we are going to want to place our break even. Or actually, no, that's a lie, sorry. Go on a 10-minute here. Okay, so we're going to want to place our break even right up here. Which is fairly, actually it's past the take profit anyway, so. Okay, so there we go, full TP. Okay, so the reason why I chose this area as the order block was because, yes, we do have this order block here. However, my only problem with that is it's a little bit up in the premium, which I'm not really fond over, but you know, it is what it is, right? So, and we can also see here it wouldn't have worked out too well. It would have taken a long time, and the whole point of my entries is to kind of just be quick in and out. So we can mark this as a win for ES. We're just barely meeting our requirements here. So let's see, 268. That's happening on Tuesday. So EM2 buy, pair ES, closed R2 because it was a big stop loss. trading session, I believe that was the PM stop loss size was 68 ticks. And then there we go. Okay, so that's going to conclude the trading day for ES. So let's take a look at NASDAQ here. Let me just delete all these drawings. So NASDAQ, we already swept the previous day low, so I'm looking to sweep a session low before I begin to look for a buy. Okay, so we can see here that we did sweep the session low. Market is continuing to drop. So at this point, it's probably likely we're going to sweep this session low before we even consider anything. Okay, the market really just did a whole lot of nothing. So, okay, no entries for NASDAQ on Tuesday. Now let's scoot over to Wednesday to see what's up. Okay, let's take a look at the news here. Again, Economic Forum. FOMC is unfortunately in the PM session. I don't trade before FOMC, guys. That goes for the entire day, so we're gonna skip out on that. I mean, overall, like we can see that we were looking for EM1 model, but I do not like trading FOMC personally. And I guess you can kind of see why, really. Because say if we were even looking for an entry, right? We would have stopped the previous session low. Okay, made another sweep. We wouldn't even have had an entry. Yeah, it's just all over the place. So I do not at all regret not trading FOMC. I could care less. Let's see here, session low. Session low, got the break there. Look, it wouldn't. The trade would have been invalidated right here, anyways, before the order block that's somewhere in here. So, it really wouldn't have mattered, anyways. Okay, taking a look at Thursday, GDP at 8:30. We got a little bit of news, but it is what it is. So, let's go over to Thursday. Alrighty, we need to mark up our news buffers. So there's some at 8:30, 8:30 and 10. So and the other one's happening during lunch hour. So I don't really care about that because I don't trade lunch. Okay, and then taking a look at our liquidity. Previous day high was swept already. So what does that mean? It means we are looking for entry model 2. So previous day high was swept. The overall target for the day is going to be all these relative equal lows here at the Asia low. So at the minimum, I need to see this swing high, this or previous session high get swept first before I begin to look for a sell, as the previous day high was swept before New York session. Just in case, let's mark up this old session high up here as well. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing over for NASDAQ. So let's go to NASDAQ here. We can actually see that the previous day high was not swept yet. So before I begin to look for a sell on ES, I need to look for this previous day high to get swept first. So at this moment, I'm looking for just a buy and a buy only on NASDAQ until that previous day high is swept. And then just so I don't have to do it later, let me draw up these old session high here. Okay, we'll start off on NASDAQ. 10-minute time frame. Okay, we can see here that Previous day high was swept. So was the old session high. So let's identify any other old session high that we can use. The only other one's going to be all the way up here. So pretty much if I see any bearish 10-minute market structure shift here, I'm going to be looking for a sell. Unless the market keeps breaking structure and levitating toward this session high. But that really just depends, right? Like I just see how the market moves. Okay, so see how we keep breaking structure like that? So that's telling me that the market has a willingness to sweep a higher session buy side liquidity or the session high. So I'm not looking for any sells until we sweep that session high. And we can see the market pretty much just consolidated into nothing. So take a look here at ES. Let's see what happens. Okay. We have our session high swept. So if I see a bearish market structure shift from here, I will look for a sell. But if I keep seeing breaks of structure towards the buy side, I'm waiting for the next session high liquidity to be swept, which we can see here it was swept. So let's see if we get any opportunities. Doesn't look like we have any because the time is up. So there's going to be no entries for ES either. And then finally taking a look at Friday, we got news before I trade, so I don't care about that. And then we have the PCE price index at 8:30 and consumer sentiment at 10. So speed up the charts here. Boy, we just keep breaking these previous day highs before we even have a chance to trade, eh? That's crazy. Okay. So for discipline reasons, we need to mark up this frickin' news buffer, even though it is pretty annoying to do, but definitely something important. So there we go, 10:12. Wait, the news was at, so what, 10? Okay, so this thing must be wrong here then. Okay. All right, so we can see here previous day high was swapped already. So what does that mean? We're looking for EM2. So the overall target for the day is going to be this Asia low here. First things first, I need to see at the bare minimum this session high gets swapped, and then if it keeps breaking structure towards the buy side, the target is gonna perhaps be all of these old session highs, which definitely the way it looks is gonna be an old weekly high as well. So that's pretty likely that we're gonna sweep all of this, especially it being Friday as well. We got another one up here. Okay, so this could potentially be a pretty strong sell if everything plays out. So same exact story on NASDAQ as well. Previous day high swept. Overall target is going to be this Asia low. At the minimum to look for this EM2 scenario B being because we already swapped the previous day high before New York session. So I need to see that session high get swept to look for a sell, or one of these older session highs could be swept as well. Okay, let's go on 10-minute. Oof, you know, I almost forgot to mark up the buffers. That would have sucked. Okay, see what happens. Okay, we swept the session high. However, it's kind of looking like we're going to keep on moving up. Okay, we moved up again. Let's see what happens. Okay, and because it's Friday, I don't trade the PM session. You'll see why. Market did nothing, right? Like, I know it went up, but nothing that we can really trade. So anyways, take a look at ES here. All the session highs swept, session highs swept. Kind of just kept on going up, and no other opportunities there. So taking a look at the week here, we are up only 2R. Honestly, May 2022 was definitely very, very slow, which is definitely interesting because let's see, so far for the month, the first week of May, awful, -1. This week here, the trade was invalid, so there was nothing. So far we're down 1. We gained 8 the week before this one, so 7R, and then this week we made 2, so 9R. That's how much that we are up. So definitely probably the slowest month to date I've ever back tested, but definitely important to do these sessions because it definitely helps me improve the strategies overall. And just this is an interesting observation because in 2023, May and June had about 20 to 30R. And then in 2022, it's like quite the opposite, the average being like about 14. And then this year, 2023, August and July, it's pretty much the same numbers that May and June had in 2022. But in 2022, July and August actually had 20 and then up to 35R. So it's very interesting. I definitely wish I started making these videos when I back tested all of that. We can just take a quick peek here. August was booming, to be honest with you. All right, let's take a look at July. July was the bigger one. Yeah, see, July was actually 32R. So definitely a lot of opportunities there. But anyways, with that being said, that wraps up this backtesting session.